Hi, it's Chris Kolenda, and I am delighted to introduce my three discipline leadership system to you, which is designed to help you achieve sustainable business growth. What really creates durable success? And you can look at it as a bit like an iceberg. So, at the top of the iceberg is coachings, trainings, and that conversation actually is shallow because oftentimes what people are giving you is their product. They're teaching you what they know, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's oriented on your outcomes. And so you'll come away from a training event or a keynote saying, it was a good talk, it was a good presentation, but I don't know what I can do with that. And that's the problem. They're focused on what they know and what they do instead of being focused below the waterline at the base of the iceberg, which is your outcomes. And ultimately, it starts with understanding your aspirations. The iceberg is always going to go with the current. It's not going to go with the wind. So what we want is to make sure that the work that we do together is moving alongside your aspirations and not contrary to that. And that's why it's key to focus on your outcomes. So first question that people tend to ask is, hey, we live in turbulent times. So how is it that we can navigate uncertainty? And the key outcome here is always putting your team in an unbeatable position where the individuals and the whole team feels like they are set up to be successful so that you always feel like you're riding the crest of the wave instead of feeling like you're either left behind or crashed underneath it. What would unbeatable positioning do for your business? A second question that people often ask me is, in order to put people in this great position, we need to innovate. And so how do we actually unlock greater innovation? And the key with that is creating an unstoppable workforce that is going to overcome problems, is going to offer fresh ideas, is going to try new things without you having to micromanage them and without you having to worry that they're going to go 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. What impact would an unstoppable workforce have on your business? And of course, in order to unlock greater innovation and create this unstoppable workforce, you got to get the leadership skills right. And so, how do we encourage people to contribute their best to your organization's success? And that is by leading with unwavering inspiration. What would be the impact if all of your leaders led with unwavering inspiration? Now, the good news is that all three of these outcomes we can create with very clear systems and visual models that give you organized way of achieving them. Imagine what happens when you bring these three outcomes together. Because when you look at the very base of the iceberg, ultimately, your leadership excellence is what precedes sustainable business growth. And this is exactly where the three discipline leadership system comes in, which is the organized way of working with you to achieve that outcome. Okay, so let's dive into that. Three discipline leadership system at the center is this aspiration of sustainable business growth. And then the three outcomes we discussed: unbeatable positioning, unstoppable workforce, and leading with an unwavering inspiration. So what I found is that there are three core disciplines that create those outcomes. The first one is operating with strategic foresight. And this allows you to turn fleeting results into durable success because you always feel like you're ahead of the power curve. You're anticipating rather than reacting. Second is empowering oversight. People are doing the right things the right way and you don't have to watch them. And that allows you to move from a situation you feel like you have to micromanage in order to be safe into igniting ingenuity because you know that ingenuity from your employees is always going to apply to your common good. And then third is leading with courageous insight. So you're able to move from cautious hesitation. There is a lot riding on your shoulders. Everything is on the line. And it's very natural to become very cautious, very risk averse in that situation. And that can ultimately lead to making one safe bet after another until your business is out of business. So the key here is decisive action, moving from cautious hesitation and risk aversion to decisive action and smart risk taking. And you've got to have all three in place to be successful. Without strategic foresight, your organization winds up in drift, and you can only drift in one direction, and that's downhill. Without empowering oversight, you get into disarray, where you've got some people just waiting to be told what to do, other people moving 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction, and people just simply pulling at different directions, which just creates a sense of chaos. And then without courageous insight, people wind up just being in despair. And people in despair are going to either pack it in or they're going to vote with their feet. So, what we want is to have all three in place and working together. And for each of these three big disciplines, there are some contributing accelerators that form this three discipline system. So, when it comes to strategic foresight, the first thing we want to do is create the habit of upstream thinking or anticipatory thinking so that we are anticipating risks and we are shaping the future to our advantage. Second is pattern recognition. So you hear athletes oftentimes say, the game just slowed down. That's because they have pattern recognition. They understand based on certain patterns where players are going to be next. As Gretzky said, skate to where the puck is going to be. And then third is structured simplicity. One of the biggest challenges for leaders is we can tend to overthink things and overcomplicate things. And complicatedness creates confusion within your organization. So being able to present ideas and complex issues in a way that is simple but not simplistic is vital for getting people on the same page and moving in the same direction. When it comes to empowering oversight, starts with compelling clarity, which is about how we communicate with people, how we set clear and compelling expectations so people understand exactly where the goalposts are and how to meet them. Second is enthusiastic engagement. So this is a lot about buy-in, where people are accepting change and leaning into it and moving out. They are rowing the boat at the right time and cadence because they are enthusiastic about where you are taking the organization. And then finally, relentless improvement. That's what accountability is all about. Accountability is not about dwelling on the past, it's about improving future behavior. And so, accountability is how you get relentless improvement, where people are getting better and better every day, not because they feel they have to, but because they want to. And then finally, when it comes to courageous insight, the number one habit is purposeful presence, where you are voting very intentionally with your time, talent, and energy. You are saying no to extraneous matters so that you can say yes to what matters most. Second is keen judgment. So the ability to make decisions in volatility and ambiguity, communicate that and move out with it, and create the conditions through your presence, through your inspiration for your team to execute boldly. So that, in a nutshell, is a three discipline leadership system. And of course, within each of these different habits or accelerators are all sorts of various visual models and components, things like building trust, conflict management, change management, etc., that are all embedded inside of this model. So that's the three discipline leadership system. It's a system that I've been living and developing for, quite frankly, the last 40 years of leading organizations and working with leaders who want to lead organizations as good as they possibly can be. So, where are the greatest opportunities for growth using my three discipline leadership system? Well, I invite you to take the simple self assessment at the button below. It'll take you about 5 minutes to complete, and you'll find the places where you can really lean in and repeat behaviors that are working for you, and places of opportunity where you can get even stronger.